Hey, good evening. It's 7:49 p.m. It is Tuesday, December 1st. It is a wonderful evening. It's very peaceful tonight. A little chilly outside. It's wonderful right now. The way it feels inside the house is just right. The temperature's great. So I wanted to come and make a video really quick, and this video is called "Speaking with Emotional Detachment" because that's something that I feel is really important right now. And it's important to talk out your problems. It's extremely important to talk out your problems, especially if you dealt with something that that I dealt with. And um, so making videos is a good thing to do, not just because it releases the stress out of side of you, but it also it lets the people who are watching your videos, and a lot of them are your perps, or the people who participated in it, as well as like your previous employers and so on and so forth, which I guess they would be falling under the category of perps in a way. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about, how some of this is, it surfaces up in your mind because, like, what else do I have to do, right? Not much else is there for me to do. I wish I had more activity, but I don't. But you start really putting pieces together and you start figuring things out, like I've mentioned before. But in one of my videos, I think this is like one of the videos that I made back in 2015, and I was talking about when right after I left the farmer's place, and I was at a metaphysic workshop. It was like one of those things that they had in the evening, and it seemed like everybody knew who I was. Like they expected me to be there. Although, I've in the past I've gone to a lot of their little gatherings or meetings or whatever, but it was, I never had like this big whoop-de-doo being made out of me, right? And they were asking me a bunch of questions, and the ladies were coming up to me, and I was talking about, I didn't go into what was going on at the farmer's place, but I was really upset because I had just left the farmer's place, and I actually wanted to get out that night to go to this gathering, and just to get out and like release my frustration. So I was talking about, I wasn't going into it because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And plus, I was upholding the confidentiality contract, but I was just being general. I said, I had an issue at work, and the lady's like, I said, and it kind of seemed like it was a racial issue. And that's all I said. I didn't say where I worked or anything like that. But anyway, the lady said, oh, don't make it a racial issue. Make this a woman's issue. And I will never forget, kept thinking, why is this specifically a woman's issue? Because at the time, I didn't know exactly everything that was going on. But anyway, now looking back, and then I remember thinking, I made another video back in 2016 or 2017 referring to the video, relating it to a woman's issue, because I realized that there was bullying coming from, I believe at the time, my main focus was my ex-siblings, my ex-sisters, influencing the girl from work. And then now I see that it's a woman's issue because this particular person who was at my workplace, now I've come to realize that this particular girl at my workplace was probably being influenced not only by my sisters, but probably my ex-husband and his family. So this is what made it issue. This is why it was such a big blew up and a big whoop-de-doo and all this shit was going on in the town that I didn't know about. So now I get it. So this is a woman's issue, but I will say it is a racial issue, mainly because of the uh, the abuse mainly that I had taken out, and but this issue does happen to a lot of women. Like, they all use ex-spouses will go after people and then have people wreak havoc in their ex-spouses' lives. Just like, women do it too. They'll do it to men or whatever. But a lot of times this is more of a male type thing, where men do this to women. Or, in-laws or whatever do this to the woman or whatever, So, yeah, I guess I do see it that way. It is a woman's issue. But yes, it does have a racial issue as well as religion and everything else that falls under the sun. But anyway, so yeah, anyway. So, I was watching a video today, just a few minutes ago, and she was basically venting her frustration. I guess she had a pretty bad day today or whatever, and I related to it. Some of the things she was saying because you know, targeted individuals are pretty much in the same boat. They've had people turn on them. There's a lot of weird gossip that goes on around them, their social circle that they are in, whether directly or indirectly, have this sick, pathological hatred towards them. And it's just crazy, And like all targeted individuals, what they do is they, focus on things that you did in the past to use against you because the reality of it is that the reality of it is that they dig up things from your past because they view you as a successful person. They do. They view you as a successful person, even though I don't view myself as a successful person because I don't. I'm just somebody who tries to do a good job. Do I have the potential in life to be more than what I could have been? Yes, I do. I do have the potential, and I think my videos prove it. Just by if you watched all my videos in the past, you know this. Okay, this is not bragging, but this is just getting to the heart of the matter. So you get these people who get like jealous, sick, morbid jealousy towards the potential that you have. And I when I think of these sort of things, okay, because like I said, we're talking about office jobs, okay, and I honestly shake my head when I think about working in an office. Not that I think working in an office is a humble job, and I think that and that's exactly what it is. It's a humble job. It's not like rolling in the bucks. It's not this or whatever. But I know that my ex mother in law, who I am divorced from, who is not a part of my family, I'm not related to them. I have divorce papers to prove it. But I know that she, made me lose one of my jobs that was paying a significant amount of money. And she flat out told me, that's too much money. And so, which I thought, wow, you know, um, I'm just not even going to go there because this video is about speaking with emotional detachment. So I'm not going to go off on that. But anyway, what it is that that's what it is, okay? And sometimes people are surprised, like when their blood relations turn against them, okay? And it's a sad state of affair if, this country, that we're at a point in this country where people will slash your goddamn throat and be so, competitive over humble jobs. Now I can see if this was like, if this was like, working for like I was a licensed professional or I was something that, really successful. Like I had like 3 degrees on my wall and I had all these I traveled and I had I was in a position of power. Okay. If I was in a powerful position, something that creates change, somebody that gets respect, somebody who drives company cars, somebody who, what I'm talking, a bigwig, okay? This isn't bigwig shit, okay? But obviously, your perps have this perception of you that you are that person, that you are somebody who is, you have potential to go somewhere in life, okay? And for whatever reason, they see themselves and they compare themselves to you continuously and they have a morbid jealousy towards you, and that's what it is. And I'm speaking this for um, my own experience based on what I've dealt with, and I do believe that this is the issue with most people who are being targeted and the reason why you deal with insensitive acts that you deal with. Okay. And the reason why they bring up your past is because, yeah, your past was pretty flawed. You made some mistakes, but how they see you presently, they see you as somebody who is, in their mind, they feel eclipsed by you. And I think of myself as just a normal person. I mean, I scrape by, I have secondhand clothes. I don't have much of anything. Okay. Even when I was making money, I never had much of anything. I've never been the kind of person that, had a bunch of shit. But anyway, my point is that this is how they see you. And so, people feel more comfortable when they can try to tear you down a little bit. Like they feel better about themselves. They don't have to feel eclipsed, or if they, and I really don't see myself this way, okay? But they deep down inside do. This is why you have this sort of, like I said, morbid type jealousy issues going on, okay? And like I said, I shake my head when I think of office jobs, and I think that they knew that I had great potential as being in management positions, okay? And I know that this is a racial issue, and they didn't like the idea of a woman. I'm referring to my ex-husband's family. Didn't like the idea of a woman of color having a position in the workplace by, having extra duties such as like managing files and delegating work or anything. But I still think at the end of the day, when I think of this in terms of working in an office, which I believe is a very humble job, in their mind, they think that's some big shit. Okay. And like I said, people like me in my age group and older, everybody knew. Okay, it's just a common like no-brainer that everybody knew that if you never got a chance to go to like a big university, or your family didn't have money and you didn't have high aspirations like being a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, maybe work in government or something like that, if you had no anything going on, those you either worked retail, or you work, maybe you could start working fast food and kind of work yourself up. Maybe then you could be a manager working fast food. You could work maybe in an office. Okay, these are like, and so I honestly look at these people like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But it's a matter of perception. Okay, and so they perceive you as more than what you are, you know and it does. I noticed that. I was thinking today about how, um, I've watched some old movies in the past, right? And so read some books, and some of these take place like, the little country towns and stuff like that. And, I noticed that if somebody doesn't like somebody in these books or these stories, okay, and some of this I'm sure is based in on fact, okay, because this is what a lot of people do. It's not uncommon. Back then, if you did something like, let's just say for example, you got an argument with your neighbor, people would make phone calls and they'll call employers. Hey, don't hire this person. I know she's looking for a job. They do this sort of stuff, this sort of barbaric, thoughtless stuff, and when they do these sort of things, I do believe it's a form of, it is malicious, okay? It is malicious. Maybe they don't intend for it to be quite as malicious as I personally think in this case that it was meant to be malicious. I mean, take me out this world malicious. I really do believe that. Okay, I don't have any doubt in my mind that these people didn't have murderous intent. Okay, but I will say that that in from what I see, that this sort of behavior, people go after people's jobs, and I know, like, like my parents, like when we were kids, like my parents, the first thing they do when they try to discipline us, okay, and that's not, I don't even really consider that discipline. I think of it as just spontaneous reaction. Like, I didn't learn anything from getting a spanking, okay? This is not how you teach children. To me, discipline should be correcting the behavior and redirecting, okay? Now, punishing and discipline, there's two different things, but my family really didn't fully understand that, okay? Because they were old school. And my mother didn't put any emphasis or have any regard for psychology, the study of psychology, how it affects the human mind, how it, how her interactions with us, had significant impact on our development. These sort of things to my mother would go over her head. Now she knew certain things, okay, like that was like things that she would read in McCall's magazine or something, but she didn't understand like there's a reaction to her actions, okay? So a lot of people in older generations do a lot of barbaric, stupid, thoughtless, ignorant things, okay? I'm not bashing the older generation, it's just that they don't know. And now we have so much more development, more findings, more research, on the psychological effects of how other people's behavior affects other people. Okay, now obviously, when somebody calls an employer and then tries to get you blacklisted or something along those lines, that is not just hurting you emotionally, it's hurting you financially, it's hurting you, it makes you struggle. It is bad, okay? And the reason why I've already did a video on blacklisting, we know what this does to people. Okay, we know what it does, and we know that it's wrong, okay? Based on my video, and based on, more importantly, the law, because this is what I'm basing it off of. I hope I'm speaking with emotional detachment, because I'm not going off, yelling, accusing, I'm just saying things how they are. But this is the sort of stuff they do, and and the sad part is, like I've mentioned before, is we have a lot of ignorance in this world. And this is something that, I knew that there was a lot of people who I would be around who seemed misinformed, like they didn't quite understand certain things, okay? But this whole issue, what happened to me in the last, well, it's been going on for decades, like I said, but in the last 7 years, like it opened my eyes to certain things that I never really thought about before. Like, I realized how ignorant people are. Like, I realize how people are in positions of power, and they are in positions in management. They are lawyers. There are people in law enforcement who are walking around with nothing in their heads. Nothing in their heads. Certain social services are not really adequately prepared or able to deal with real life issues. They don't recognize signs of human trafficking, even though it's their own goddamn organization. I had somebody I spoke to about 2 years ago. When I was talking to her, she basically said, well, my cousin works for BPD, so blah, 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 using this as a threat. Okay, so then in other words, your cousin, brother-in-law, whoever the hell he is a corrupt individual, because the activity that you're defending is gang stalking, which is illegal, blacklisting, harassing, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and human trafficking, you are a part of the enslavement of a human being. Okay, so you get these people. This goes right down to, like, dealing with job interviews, and then people want to get in on the fun. They want to, hate you and whatever. Hate you, harass you, even though when you look at this, I'm going to tell you, this is how I see this issue, okay, from my perspective. And I'm not playing the victim by any means, okay? I'm not. I am somebody who rolled into this town almost, actually, 20 years ago. I rolled into this town 20 years ago. August was 20 years that I've been in this town. And I came in here in this town looking for work, looking to raise my little son, right, at that time. And, I met my ex-husband, and uh, um, I made a mistake. I said that I was half white. And so they use this issue. This is like they use this issue to blacklist me. Now, I will tell you, if this issue was about, now a lot of women have multiple lovers, partners. They might have, they might be bisexual. They might have all kinds of weird shit, all kinds of weird fetishes, secret lives, blah, 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 blah. Now, if I was somebody who basically was into something weird, which I'm not, but if I was into something weird and lied and hid that from my husband, would I be blacklisted today? If it was me saying, well, you're the only man I've ever been with, but because women do this, if I would have said, you're the only man I've ever been with, but I was really with, I don't know, the entire football team, not only at my previous school, but the competition school. If I was one of those women, okay, if I was one of those women, would these people still be persecuting me in the same manner that they persecuted me over what I said? And the answer is no. Okay, so we know that this is a racial issue, and regardless, the issue is that that there's no way in the world you cannot hide that. You know what I mean? By the way, like I said, lying about your race is a silly thing to do, but in under the circumstances, you can see why I did. But it's a silly thing to do. But does this not prove my point? You know, nothing warrants that. That's not even against the law. You can't be thrown in jail for that. Okay, but you have what they call kangaroo courts, and kangaroo courts are the people who take the law into their own hands in their imaginary minds. And you'll notice that there's a lot of cops who work and function under the kangaroo cop type mentality. And kangaroo courts are courts, made up courts, like outside of the official and the authorized legal system. So that means that there could be a guy across the street or a lady across the apartment complex from me, and we can find out about a guy who did something that we thought was wrong, and we can start a little committee, and then we could put out things in place to try to investigate this person and try to punish this person. But they do things that are typical of their mentality. It's illegal. Like, and you're supposed to suffer at the hands of this kangaroo court. There's nothing legal about it. So you deal with a lot of ignorance, okay? Like this ignorance, like this abnormal amount of ignorance, okay? So, that's life, right? That's life, I guess. But anyway, so I'm just basically expressing my feelings and what's going on in my life, and but the reason why they bring it up though is because they want to find fault, and they want to find fault mainly because they do see me as somebody who is successful. They do. They see me as somebody who is successful, and and I'm not just saying that my ex-husband's family sees me as successful. I'm saying that, my ex-siblings see me as successful, and I do think this is funny. Like I said, because we're talking about office jobs, okay, and I do think it's a very sad state of affairs when people are sitting here like cutting people's throat out, excluding people, throwing people under the bus, gossiping, creating trying to, I don't know, just I'm sorry, I it's just so stupid to me. It's stupid it is stupid, but anyway, uh when you see this sort of stuff going on, for me, for a logical person with common sense looking at this, I'm just like, fuck, man, this is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But anyway, um at least I had a little bit of a laugh there. But but yeah, don't think that like your blood relations or whoever you thought was going to support you is strong enough to to protect you. Some people turn against you because they go with what the majority says, and I've learned from a young age that the the majority isn't always right. Like I remember, sitting in school when I was a kid, and a lot of kids would say certain things, and I'm like, I don't think that's the right answer, but they would say it anyway. And a bunch of people would say the same answer, and I'm like, nope, it's not right. I've learned that not everybody in a group is right. Oftentimes, people feed off of the thoughts, behaviors of other people just for the simple fact to fit in. You know what I mean? And there's a tremendous amount of pressure. Look at the kind of pressure they put on targeted individuals. You know what I mean? So like one of those people in the group, if they felt bad and they know some, I'm sure not well, I had some pretty shitty experiences, but I'm sure that there were people within this perp network of mine who knew it was wrong and maybe didn't want to get involved too much in it, but they were probably very careful about saying anything because they didn't want to, deal with the wrath of that sort of behavior. You know what I mean? Because, and I will say that when you look at religion and how it gets misused, and I have been persecuted for whatever these people think that I believe. Okay, they know that I don't go to church or whatever, and They will use any excuse. Okay. There's a lot of people who don't go to church. There's a lot of people who claim to be Christian who don't go to church. Okay. And they maybe go to church because they haven't found a church home or whatever. Some people just don't like tithing. They don't feel like people should be giving your money to away people. There's a lot of abuse, financial mismanagement that goes on in churches, whatever people's reasons are. Okay. Maybe they believe in more of a Pentecostal point of view, and maybe you might be Catholic or whatever, but you still have your rights. But whatever the case is, the issues that they tend to bring up are always against. They're always against your human rights. Like you have every right to believe what you want to believe. So these little kangaroo courts are a nuisance, is what they are. They're a nuisance, and they are illegal. Kangaroo courts were also responsible in the South, like when they would lynch black people. And I'm not bringing up race, but this is just an example of what kangaroo courts are. A lot of times the lynchings that actually occurred were not done through the legal system. It was just a bunch of rowdy people who just wanted to fucking kill somebody. It's basically what it is. So they would gather around and they would have picnics. It was a quite barbaric act. You should look it up sometime. But this is the sort of stuff that they did. And it was outside of the law. Like, and it was like kangaroo courts. Surprisingly, people like mayors and police officers participated in these illegal type behaviors, and this is not for me to bring up race issues. It's just an example of kangaroo courts and how they work outside of the law, how they take the law into their own hands. Okay. And this is it's an ignorant thing to do. Okay. It's an ignorant thing to do. Yeah, I don't look at myself as successful. I think, if I would have had the right people in my life, like if I would have had competent network of people, people if I would have had the opportunity to fly with my own wings when I was younger, I think I could have been a lot more in life. You know what I mean? I could have had a much more fulfilling, peaceful, definitely peaceful work life. And I'm sure that people would have, if I would have found the right support system, I would have had the right people help carry me where I needed to go. That's because it would have been in my hands to make those decisions instead of having, to rely on other people, which I didn't know that I was relying on other people. Because as far as I knew, I was applying to jobs that I saw in the newspaper or whatever. But I didn't realize that, there was a targeting system and blah, blah, blah. I didn't think about those things back then. I really didn't. Okay. But I know that if looking back on my actually, I've worked longer than 23 years, but I'm just saying I'm just going back to since I've been working in an office environment, which is like the last 23 years, actually 25 years when I think about it, but I'm not going to count the other jobs. But the, and even jobs when I remember working in like little rinky-dink jobs, like working at fast food shops, or even when I worked at a hospital one time, I remember like people would be bursting up and wanting to start confrontational fights and stuff because of my perps infiltration. But it's been there all for a very long time. You know what I mean? It's been there for a very long time. And you deal with the bullying, indirect bullying, because these people want to keep the enemy close. They want to keep you near them and have this project a face of friendship and kindness when really they have some sort of, like I said, either morbid jealousy, and they want to find fault with you. They want to find fault with you so bad. So the only thing, they just grasp for straws. So they grasp for straws and they'll bring up the fact that, oh, she said she was half white 20 fucking years ago. You know what I mean? But they don't see their own flaws, okay? Which is just funny. It's funny. You know what I mean? First of all, I would also like to say, I never meant to hurt my ex-husband in any way. I never, I knew that he was not somebody that was like, father material for my son by any means, okay? But, but I never had this cutthroat attitude towards him. And I was very surprised to find out that he was like plotting against me for such a very long time. And that sends chills down your spine. It's like, that's disturbing to you, that somebody would do that shit. Like, That's creepy. It's very creepy. And I do remember telling him that, I lied to him and he acted like everything was okay, And for him to continue, that's just like so weird in my mind. Like, that it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to go into it too deeply because I'm not, really up for all that. But, I never harmed him. You know what I mean? And I would have never done what he did to me even if the roles were reversed. Like, let's just say, but then again, I don't know. I could go on another subject, but then that would get people really pissed off. So I'm not even going to go there. Not even going to go there. But I don't have it in my heart to be, to be, like warped like that. Like, and what I mean by warped like that, to, um, psychologically abuse someone but I do know that people who engage in this sort of behavior, it is an ignorant thing to do. um, Mainly because, well, it's ignorant mainly because, and kind of cowardice as well. um, but this, my intention is not to cut this person down. My intention is to, release what I'm feeling and the thoughts that are kind of going through my mind right now. um, this community, and as well as other places. Okay. Yeah, they, yeah, I respect the fact that this is a small community. Okay, I respect that. I respect the fact that, you know that, you go into certain businesses and, like, not everybody is up on the law, and they should be, but they have a HR system, and they got, like, they got this person who's working in HR, and they got this person. It's like, this is the part that really opened my eyes when I realized that I was gang stalked. I was eventually human trafficking. I was a victim of domestic stalking. Okay. And what I was thinking about, the first thing that popped in my mind was how long this was going on, who was involved, how I knew they were involved, and blah, 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 blah. And the first thing that popped in my mind was the mayor in my hometown. Now, he was somebody who turned a blind eye to this issue. And the reason why I mention this particular person is because he's a lawyer of employment. So I'm watching all these people getting these so-called professional people, and this issue, the last 7 years, opened my eyes more than it's ever opened my eyes. Like, I realize we have a serious problem. Okay, like, people claim to be educated, but they're fucking not. They're not. Like, it didn't cross anyone's mind in this community or anywhere else. Like, when I was looking for work in Los Angeles, I even looked for work in other states, that this is illegal, and the reasons why. Whether it was, somebody making fun of me because of me wearing a wig, and making a big whoop-de-doo about it, that's still sexual harassment. We have issues of sexual harassment. We have issues of human trafficking. We have racial discrimination. We have everything under the sun. All the issues under the sun. Domestic stalking. I mean, it's just fucking bad. Why didn't these people get sued? I would be sitting here comfortable this very day. Okay, but we don't, because we live in an ignorant society. This is a fact. It's a fact. The very fact that you can harass somebody and brag at the fact that you have members who are willing to defend your illegal activity, who work in law enforcement, which I think is funny, because how in the hell can people enforce the law? They don't even know what it is. What the fuck are you enforcing? You don't even know what you're talking about. You know? So I'm sitting here, like, thinking, gosh, this is a sad, pathetic, sick, twisted, moronic world that I have to live in every day. So I have to get up and deal with that on a daily basis, knowing that, I can encounter some person, some ignorant person that could cause harm just because they think it's funny, or something, because they don't know any better. You know, it's a scary world that we live in. It really is. It really is. So people claim to be educated, but they're not. They're not really. And if they said, oh, they don't know, how is it that you don't know? I don't have that. I can't accept that as an excuse anymore. Like, oh, we didn't know. Like, I'm sure there's people right now sitting at the behind their desk. Well, they're not doing it right now, but they probably were like last week. Like, I didn't know it was this severe. I didn't. It was just like, and then they're sitting here persecuting me because I don't have a bachelor's degree, and they're like, oh, because she doesn't know. She's not equipped. She's not qualified. But yes, I am more than qualified. More than qualified. And you know what? My perps know it. And that fucking makes them sick to their stomach with jealousy over a fucking office job. And that's just it. And that's why they got to bring shit up like that all the time. That's why they sit there and offer you jobs working with Hasidic Jews. Not that I have anything against Jews, but they want to pick on you all the time. They want to they want to, focus on your flaws so much because they need to feel better. They need that narcissistic supply. And God knows why they want to keep me around. I know they why, but I'm not wanting them around. Like I basically said, I'm divorced, bye, leave me alone, okay, I'm done, But then, and it's weird because when you have these, like, it's unwanted relationship. Like, I don't know, whatever. I don't want it. I don't want a relationship with people who racially abused me, stalked me, had a rumor campaign about me, blacklisted me, um, slept with a girl at work who was basically sabotaging my job. I mean, come on, really, am I supposed to just like be okay with that? It's just, the more I think about people, I'm just like this stuff. I'm done. It's just done. So you got to understand how I see the world, you know. And this is how I see the world. I see it as really messed up. But that's why, though. I got off the subject a little bit, but at least I did so without, with emotional detachment. I wasn't like all like getting all emotional. But but her video, watching this girl's video, kind of made me think about my situation too, and it's relatable. It sometimes takes the place of really wanting to have company over to talk about your problems. So you watch a video about somebody who's dealing with their issues too, so that you can feel like, man, I'm not alone. Like we can relate. We've got this going. I understand. You don't feel so isolated. So that's one of the reasons why people reach out to the target individual community, because they don't, you know, it makes sense, right? You know, you want to know someone else who's having to deal with people who are displaying morbid jealousy towards them. And I will tell you, it's sickening, and that's what it is. That's exactly. I know that a lot of I'm not somebody who reads tabloids, okay? Because I'm really not into those. But I've seen like interviews with like stars, whether they be celebrities, singers, actors, or whatever. Now, and I really don't want to compare what they do for a living to an office job, okay? And the sad part is that these people, my perps, they're so ridiculous or pathetic that they probably see it this like I don't know, it's just ridiculous. But my point is that people who are become successful, they get discovered, they get the right agents, they start getting in appearing in movies, they start making those albums, they do whatever, they start moving up this ladder of success. They talk about their families sabotaging them, being backstabbers, hurting them all the time, being betrayed. This shit happens in families, okay? Their close friends are kind of moving away from them. Now, every once in a while, you might have one of those relationships like Oprah and Gayle King have, where like they're best friends throughout the. That's a rare relationship. That's a rare friendship, okay? But there's a lot. It's more likely that people are going to want to stab you in the back, gossip about you, discredit you, run you over, blah, 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 talk shit about you. And the thing is, they really can't talk shit about you. But see, they know this. And that's why they focus on the fact that you told your husband. that I told my ex-husband that I was half white, and that I don't know what other goofy little things that I did, that they probably did things like that were 10 times worse when they were younger. Okay, but this is what they do. And so, and I mean, really, I'm quite aware of my flaws. Okay, I have a lot of flaws. Okay, I do, you know, but what people are, my perps tend to, I don't know, maybe it's because like my perps don't have much of a life themselves, you know. I don't know why they seem to think these sort of things, whatever, but um, why they seem to you know, make it seem like it's such a grand thing. Like, like, I don't know. But anyway, I didn't appreciate having my income cut off and somebody, taking my job away. That's my job. In laws, married partners, they don't have any rights to their spouse's jobs. Now, when you take that into something else, like, for example, if we had a business together or something like that, and then when you get divorced, it's like, I'm just more than disgusted about the treatment that I got, and rightfully so. Okay, and then the very fact that the community assisted these people, and then the fact that you can't rely on certain organizations to get shit right. Just this how the system fails people, and it fails a lot of people. I used to hear people say that when I was a kid, and I kept thinking, no, that's not true, because I didn't rely on any. I never relied on the system. Like I never, um, like if somebody needed like a shelter, like a woman needed to go to a shelter or something, and they'll talk about how there was poor service there, there wasn't compassion, there wasn't enough beds, or wasn't whatever. I didn't understand that, because I'm thinking, well, this is what these organizations are for. They're supposed to be doing this. They're supposed to be giving you these things. So when they would talk about how the system failed people, I wasn't relating. Okay, now I fully understand how the system fails people. Okay, you got lawyers that don't know anything. Like I said, you got police departments that were ready to enforce the law. What the fuck law? The police people, they don't even have to have. Okay, now get this. Police people don't even have to have a degree to be a police officer. Okay, they don't. And just like people who gravitated towards office jobs when they got out of high school or whatever, a lot of the men who wanted jobs were the people who maybe their parents didn't have money to send them to college or whatever, so they might have been like bullies or whatever, so they decided to become police officers. They don't really grab these people from the greatest bunch. Now, I'm not saying all cops are bad, because there are some good ones. There's some Andy Griffith type people, Andy Taylor or whatever his character was on that show, those kind-hearted people who want to help their neighbors and all that. Those people do exist, okay? But there's a lot of bullies, police brutality, who just like wearing a badge because they like the authority, you know. But the funny part is like, okay, I was thinking, okay, so they don't need to really have an understanding of the law in order to enforce the law. Okay, but yet we have lawyers who do study the law for very long periods of time, which I think is like 8 years of college, right? So then you got lawyers who don't fucking know shit either, because they fail at this issue as well. Okay? So even if a cop did have a degree or some sort of proof that they understood the law or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that just by looking at how the lawyers have fucked up shows that they're not doing shit. And they do have knowledge of the law. So I just feel like I'm running around in a world that's just stupid. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. You know what I mean? And I feel scared a lot because, I don't know how to deal with, being among ignorance like this. And it really hit me. It hit me hard, especially like I said, in the last 7 years. It's like, God damn, this world is scary. It's scary. It's scary. It's scary. And when I first came here to this town, I was just really young. I mean, well, 20 years ago, I was what, 29? Yeah, I was almost 30, okay? I was almost 30, so I wasn't that young, okay? But still, young enough to think that it was okay to venture off into a place that I didn't know anyone. Like I remember when I was telling people I was going to move to just like the town over. They're like, "Where are you moving to?" I was like, "I'm moving to Bakersfield." Do you know anybody? That was the first thing they were asking me. Do you know anybody? I'm like, "No, I don't know anybody here." And so people were looking at me and they had their mouths dropped like, "You're just going to move somewhere you don't know?" And I was somebody who was just like, "Okay." Seriously, I was thinking about moving to the other side of the United States if I wanted to. I kept thinking maybe I'll move to Georgia. But of course, I didn't make it to Georgia. But I just came here, so because the rent was cheap, and then also that I could be close to my mother, which I resent now because I wouldn't even put her in the equation at this point in my life. So yeah. Anyway, but I was thinking about the dangers of women. Now that I'm older, I'm thinking you see, I was naive, and there's a lot of women who go off into places, whether it's a small community like this one or other places. They don't know anybody, and then they meet people, and they can end up getting themselves into a lot of problems. I met my ex-husband, and I had no idea who his family was. Like, I don't know them that well, okay? But just based on their behavior, I will tell you, I'm disturbed by them. Their behavior disturbs me because it is life threatening. It is terrorism, and I'm not comfortable with them. I'm not comfortable with their actions, the repeated actions. And that's how I feel, and rightfully so. And this is very understandable for a young girl or woman or whatever who goes off into towns where they don't know people.